Hello folks, welcome to the final video of my Pico 4 VR headset review. If you haven't seen the first two videos, I'll link them both in the video description below, but here's a very quick recap. In the first video, I did a quick unboxing and a walkthrough of the Pico 4 headset, tried some VR content, and gave my first initial impressions. In the second video, I looked at the Pico 4 specs, done a walkthrough of the Pico OS software, and looked at some VR content, especially VR gaming. In this third and final video of my Pico 4 video review series, I'll be wrapping up my review with my overall summary of the Pico 4, having used it for about a month. This will be a short and sweet video covering the following areas: the things that I like about the Pico 4, things that I think can be improved upon, VR content that's available for the Pico 4, and finally my overall summary. Now, before I start, I should mention that I haven't used another VR headset apart from the Pico 4. This means I am not able to make any meaningful comparison against another headset. Of course, I am aware of other VR headsets on the market, such as the Meta Quest, but I don't know from first-hand experience how the Pico 4 holds up against its Meta Quest rival. So my summary and conclusion in this video is solely based on only using the Pico 4. So let's begin, and we're going to start with the things that I like about the Pico 4. Number one, the design. I really like the Pico 4's design. It looks really modern and futuristic, and as I mentioned in the first video, it's nice and compact. I always imagined VR headsets to be big and bulky, but the Pico 4 is really small and light. Number two, comfort. Now, having used the Pico 4 for almost a month, I can tell you it's really comfortable. It's compact and light, and since the battery is on the back of the headset, the weight is really well balanced, so it doesn't weigh you down on one side or the other. The face padding is also really soft and comfortable. Number three, ease of use. Now, I found the whole system easy to use and set up. The Pico OS is easy to navigate and it feels really smooth and fluid to use. The dock menu system is also intuitive and works really well in the VR environment. So far, the system hasn't crashed or frozen once. It's been really solid and it's always worked nice and smoothly. Everything also feels snappy, including loading of games and just turning on the headset. It boots up really quickly as well. Number four, the quality of the display. The display is awesome. Obviously, the display is a fundamental and important part of the headset, but it's really clear and crisp, and the feeling of immersion and having that feeling of being in another environment feels really real. The first time you wear the headset, especially if you've never tried VR before, it does surprise you in terms of just how real everything feels and looks. And number five, I really like the wireless controllers. The controllers are fantastic. They are really responsive and easy to use. They also provide some really good feedback with a really good amount of vibration to add to the immersion and the overall VR experience. Now let's talk about things that I think can be improved upon. Number one, the battery life. Now, I found the Pico 4 lasts me about 2, maybe 2.5 hours from full charge, possibly even less if I am casting the video to a TV screen. Now, it would be great to have a longer lasting battery. It comes with a 5300 mAh battery, and I'm assuming having a larger capacity battery will obviously add to the weight, and the current battery size is a balanced compromise. One saving grace is that you can at least use the headset whilst it's being charged. However, it's not ideal to have a long cable running around you while you're in the VR environment. Number two, storage space. So let's talk about the storage space. The headset comes in two variants, 128GB or 256GB versions. However, the Pico OS takes up a large chunk of space and you don't actually have access to the full 128 or 256GB of storage space, and games, videos, screen recordings can easily take up a lot of space. Games are getting more and more sophisticated and need more and more disk space, and I don't think 128 or even 256 is really big enough. it needs to be larger, or at least allow the user to add more space, for example, by having an SD card slot. Number 3, motion sickness. Now, I don't know if this is something that's very common in the VR world or if some people suffer from this more than others, but I did feel some motion sickness when trying certain type of videos and games. For example, some of the roller coaster videos and games where the whole environment around you moves, for example, when you're running or walking. And I've read that it can be minimized with displays that support a higher refresh rate, for example, around 120 Hz or so. The Pico 4 headset supports a maximum refresh rate of 90 Hz. However, by default, it's 72 Hz, and you need to change this in the settings to get the maximum 90 Hz refresh rate. But even at 90 Hz, I still feel slightly uncomfortable with some of the games. Maybe it's just me, or it's one of those things you eventually get used to. And finally, one other point that I want to touch on is that the Pico 4 does not have a standard 3.5mm headphone jack. So if you wanted to use a pair of headphones, unless they're Bluetooth, you won't be able to use them. And Bluetooth takes slightly more power compared to using a wired pair of headphones. However, this is not really a big deal for me, as I'm not entirely sure how comfortable you'll feel wearing a pair of headphones on top of the VR headset as well. However, it would be nice to have that choice. Now let's talk about VR content. So on the Pico 4, there is a good selection of VR content, from videos to games, as well as some applications like virtual desktop. There are a few games from names that I recognize, for example, Angry Birds and Fruit Ninja, and there appears to be something for everyone. There's good selection of genre too. The prices of games vary. Videos look great on the Pico 4. They're very crisp and clear, and VR videos are brilliant. However, I'd love to see Netflix working on the Pico 4. Whatever DRM issue is causing the playback not to work, it would be great to have Netflix working without a third-party workaround. So what's my overall opinion on the Pico 4? Well, this is the one and only VR headset I've tried so far. My overall opinion is that it's a fantastic product. It does what it's designed to do, and it does it really well. On the hardware side, the design is great and it's really comfortable. On the software side, it's easy to use and there's a good selection of content available, and this is growing by the day. Now, I'm really enjoying using it. I love the design. It looks great. It looks cool and futuristic. It's easy to use. The performance has been solid so far. It's not frozen or crashed once. It's fast and snappy, and the VR content and gaming is awesome. Is this the perfect VR headset? Probably not. There are some improvements to be had, some which I've already mentioned, for example, the battery life. But having said all that, if you're looking for a VR headset, on balance, I would say you should definitely consider the Pico 4. It's a great product and really fun to use. Well folks, thank you so much for watching. This concludes my 3-part review of the Pico 4 VR headset. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. If you have any questions, leave me a comment and I'll do my best to come back to you. Until next time, take care and I'll see you on the next one.